Okay, we're back. And I think it's going to work this time. So if you're still with us, sorry for the technical issues. I'm sure everyone's gone through them before, especially with all the new Zoom stuff everyone's doing all the time. Zoom's not working for us today. So we're going live on our Facebook page, mobile, and that way we can invite Greg as soon as he hops on.
Greg, if you could comment on this and we'll invite you on. So just to introduce again, in case anyone missed our first attempt. Greg Sakoti is from, or Sakati, I think it is, from DAPrDAN, is a business owner in Washington, has a service industry window cleaning, and I believe they do other outdoors work, power washing and things. So he can give us a little bit more information. Gutter cleaning, I know that they do that kind of thing. Anyway, Greg, he has a phenomenal way that he really filters out prospect employees to hire and or to recruit and hire the very best employees out there. So Greg, here he is. Let's get him on. He has well over 100 completely five-star reviews. So he's obviously doing something right in the way he runs his business, but so much of it is in the employees he has. And there he is. Okay. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad finally we're able to make it work. Let me get some things adjusted here first, so we can be effective. You getting any feedback?
What's that?
Are you getting any feedback right now?
That sounds great to me.
Okay, let me...
thumbs up if it sounds good. If anyone has any issues, please comment that they're not hearing us. Sounds good on our end. So
the benefit is I get to see my notes on the computer now too. So
there you go. Okay, we got it going. So Greg, now tell me, how long ago did you start in this business?
Okay, I've got a delay here. Sorry. One more thing. Okay, testing again. So, question.
Sorry, it's cutting out a little bit. Are we cutting out on our end?
There's a second delay.
Just your audio is cutting in and out a little bit. Again, I apologize, everyone.
Tell you what. Okay. Let's reconnect.
You want to reconnect? Sorry, it cut out.
It's about 20 seconds off.
All right. We'll let Greg back on in a second. Whoops. Thank you for your patience. I apologize as we're working through this. He should be back on in just a minute. I promise you it'll be worth the wait. He's got some really great things to share. Greg, Greg is one of our clients. He's a Jill's office user, and we love serving him. He's very intentional about everything he does in this business. So that's one thing that always just impressed me about him, the way he runs his business, the way he does his follow-up calls very proactively to his customers. Right from the beginning, we were just really impressed by how intentional and how well thought out he is with all of his different business processes. And it wasn't till recently that I realized that he is also just super intentional about how he hires and recruits and things like that. So we're super excited to have him share with us today. He's just trying to get back on. Let's see. Keep having issues here. Hold on one second. Nicole, it's time to do your singing while we wait. Nicole actually has a really good voice. And you play the guitar too.
You can't ever ask me to. I don't do it by request. I get really nervous and sound like a frog.
She's a great impressionist too. I keep telling her, one of these master classes, we're just gonna have her impression like in any accent. If I give you one on the fly, can you do it?
No.
Well, tell her like do a answer as a receptionist that's like Australian Texan, and she like nails it. So someday we'll get her to shine.
Skills. This is what they pay me for.
Let's see if we got Greg on here yet. Okay, so I just go ahead and approve. Okay, let's see if we are back with Greg. One moment here. All right, Greg, let's try this again. Say something phenomenal to us.
All right. It's going to be a great broadcast.
It absolutely is. Okay, it's sounding better. So, Greg, I was just kind of introducing you, saying how I've been so impressed from day one of, being able to work with you, of just how intentional you are about everything that you do in your business. And, but just more recently, I realized how intentional you are, even just on how you recruit and hire. Do you mind giving us just a little bit of a background on how you got into this business, why you decided to start this business, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so thank you. And it has been an absolute pleasure working with you as well in Jill's office. So, my story goes back quite a number of years, back to actually before 2000. So 98, I quit college. I knew I didn't want to go get a job. I wanted to do something for myself. Came back from California, where I was at the time, to Seattle, and worked for a window cleaning company at that time. Learned the trade, and as many people do who are entrepreneurial in their blood, just realized I could do this better. But not leaving, I stayed until they were ready to promote me to manager. And we had a conflict, and that conflict led to an agreement that I should go a different direction, and that's what I did. I started my own business the same day that I stopped working for that company. And
wow.
So that was at 8:30 in the morning. At 1 o'clock, I was working on my own, and I haven't looked back since. I probably, would say it hasn't been a smooth road, but it never is for any business owner. I grew that company until 2006. We had 10 employees, and I actually took it to a business broker, and we sold that company. And I thought, I'll never get back into maintenance again. So I had a real affinity for what I saw going on social media at the time. I think in 2006, Facebook had maybe 300 million users at the time. We thought that was a lot, right? So I thought I would create a new company that brokered services as people moved across country. So the importance of networking. But that then, of course, fell victim to the real estate crash. So in 2010, I decided to get back into maintenance because I knew it worked. And I thought, well, I've picked up all these new skills in technology, and we could use those to make the business more efficient. I grew that from 2010 to about 2014 when I partnered with a local contractor who we'd become good friends in painting. And together we grew a business from 2014 to 2018 that really started out as a maintenance company and a painting company. The maintenance company had the benefit of a high frequency, low price point, and the painting had kind of a midpoint, moderate frequency. And then during that time, we also started another company that was in kitchen remodeling. And so that had a long-term, large ticket. So we kind of had that bandwidth of high frequency, mid, and large, long frequency. So there was a disagreement in partnership. We decided to split those businesses apart, and I ended up taking back the maintenance part. He kept the painting, and we had other partners go into the construction. So really, when you ask how long have I been in this business, it's been 23 years, but DAPrDAN itself started in 2019. So yeah, in some ways I'm old, but some ways I'm new. But I have hired the wrong way, and I've hired the right way. And it hasn't been just something I've come up on my own, but when I heard someone teach me how to do this, I recognized they were right. And so I just essentially took that along with some other things that I've, learned along the way and created what I'll share with you today.
Greg, I would argue that I don't think it's possible to know the right way to hire unless you've gone through the hard way.
Right.
Because I mean, that's the truth of it. But I'm sure everyone who's joining us today has probably had their hard ones. And so I think picking up tips like you did on how to do it better is just always hopeful. And it's not like you ever reach this, I've completely figured this out. It's just like fine tuning.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love, just of what I do know that you've already created, I'm excited to learn more today. It looks like you've really fine tuned it a lot to create almost a system that seems to be working well.
Yeah. And we've all been hired before ourselves, right? We've all worked for someone. We've gone through the process, so we can recall what it was like to be frustrated in the process. We can also recall, you know, what we wish was different and also what we liked. And so that personal experience plays a big role into designing your system.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into it. I mean, well, and I mean, one thing, and I don't know where you want to, you know what, I have a lot of ways I can see to take it, but let me ask you, where would you start in this discussion of how
Sure.
did you learn to do this? Do?
And I have some notes here because I know this topic can go a lot of different directions, right? But maybe the first thing to understand is what we're going to talk about today is not the entire personnel, you know, bandwidth of the topic. We're just going to talk about the hiring process and maybe a little bit of how to get ready to think about that. But the hiring process stops once you decide, yes, I want this person, or no, I don't want this person. The hiring process is over at that point, because at that point, hiring changes hands with the process of onboarding, right? So you do all of this work to get people attracted to what you're offering. And we'll talk a little bit about how to present that and how to create that presentation. But once you come to that point of making the decision, the hiring process is over. Now you're in the you're in the deal of delivering on the promises you've made during that hiring process. And that's just like marriage, right? You do all the marketing during your dating, then you're married. Now you do all the rest of your life, you know, maintaining those promises and keeping those promises. So let me start by just saying this about business. And I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it. Hopefully I didn't misplace it, but I'll do it from memory because it's so important. The decisions that you make when you're creating the structure of your company are going to determine the balance of the benefits or the liabilities that company will give you. And what I mean by that is that if you don't know what you want your company to give you in return, you're just going to make any decision that seems right at the time. So imagine if you're going to plan a journey and you have a map and you can look at, you're standing on a high point and you can look out in the distance, you can see the horizon, and you have a watch and a compass and all those tools that help you kind of take those steps that add up to the journey. That's a very advantageous position to stand, as opposed to being in a room with all four walls, with a dimly lit candle in the room, trying to plan a journey. It just doesn't work the same, right? And when you're getting ready to create any type of system in your business, in particular hiring and who you're going to make a part of your culture, you need to know what are my responsibilities going to be when I hire the type of people and the way in which we're going to work, and all of those things that create, you know, the quality of your experience being at the center of that business. So for example, a lot of service businesses have a central point of location where the office administration goes on, where the billing goes on, where customers can come by and drop off their checks. Or if you have samples in your business, like we did in kitchen remodeling, you could, you know, show them the samples, you could touch everything, and that increased value. Also in service, you park your company vehicles there, maybe behind a security fence or something like that with cameras, and you monitor those things at your central location. DAPrDAN is not like that at all. And I have not run across another company that runs like this. But again, this is the kind of company I wanted. I wanted to keep my business as separate from my personal life and things like that. Not because I don't want them to overlap. It's just, I know that sometimes that can take away from why you're building your business, if your business invades your life all the time. And so we are what I would consider a decentralized model. So why was that so important right now? Because think of what COVID did to the world, right? It decentralized everything. You know, you remember maybe some of my emails and conversations we had at the end of last year, you know, at the beginning of this year, you know, it was just such a natural process to go forward into COVID. Not that we like it, not we wanted it or wished it upon anyone, but it was just so wonderful to see the business be validated, the model. And so instead,
Sorry, real quick, Greg.
Yeah.
Just for those, we talked and we did some Facebook Lives on a few different platforms with Greg towards the beginning of COVID. He did some phenomenal, just, I mean, it technically wasn't email marketing. It was really just him sending emails to his clients, just really heartfelt. You know, we're all in this together kinds of things. Here's what's going on with me. Here's what's going on with my family.
Yeah.
You know, help you kind of thing. And the result of those just really heartfelt, genuine communications. They had a lot of good business benefit, I guess, to them, even though that wasn't necessarily the intention of them. Is that a good summary of kind of what happened there?
Yeah, and you know where we stand now, we've got 9 months in between when I wrote those and, you know, what's going on now. And maybe that would be, you know, another opportunity to sit down like this and talk, because there's definitely some material and some non-material benefits, but really no negatives at all of in that kind of connection with my customers. It's changed me, and, you know, it's connected me with the people that we know together we want to be connected. And so that's allowed me to just deliver our services so much more impactfully, and literally has validated a model of subscription services that I have been trying to get traction for 23 years, right? So we finally...
Yeah, we'll have another discussion.
Yeah. So let me just say this. We don't... A couple things that might be different, and this is referring to my notes. When you are going to create a hiring system, you need to make a commitment that you're going to take your resources materially and you're going to put them into the lives of the people you're bringing into your company. You cannot create a good hiring process without making an internal promise that extends to your people. What I mean is, we're going to spend more money on them, okay? We're going to you know certain things about our business, like our brand. We know what colors those are, what designs those are, where we're going to put that mark, why we're going to put it there. You know, in our case, one of the biggest decisions that we made is I thought and I realized, you know, instead of our employees going to an office somewhere, our office is the truck. Our office is the truck. And so what would if I were an employee of DAPrDAN, and I went to an office that was in a garage. I'm in a garage right now, but we've turned it into a nice office. But what if this wasn't a nice office? What if it was a 4x6 cold concrete floor office with no windows and really no hope, right? That would not be encouraging. Who would want to apply for a job to work there? And so I thought about, you know, some of the trucks that I've put my guys in that time from 98 to 2006, they were trucks I could afford at the time, which is good, right? Good not to overextend yourself financially, but you have to also consider that those trucks have to make it from point A to point B so that your guys can take home a living, right? Also, those trucks can represent you either poorly or very well on the road. So I'll just tell you, those are some of the things, and that's just scraping the surface, but we elected to put our guys in Toyota Tundras. And part of the reason for that decision, I'll just share with you, if you're, you know, anyone watching is considering what truck should I put my guys in. We went with Toyota Tundras specifically because I think it's from about 2010 to current day, the truck model hasn't changed at all. So what does that mean? That means we can go find a truck on the used market for a good price and still maintain that brand very evenly, right? No matter what year. But the Toyota Tundra is a very user-friendly truck. It's very comfortable, it's got a nice interior, and it looks really good on the road. We took those trucks and we put about $10,000 worth of upgrades on them. Bigger tires, chrome, great display on the side, just really cool things. You know, I had one customer tell me, man, it looks like an assault vehicle. But here's what it does to the guy driving it, okay? the guy that I'm going to put all this effort into convincing him he should be on my team makes him feel like a hero. Makes him feel like, you know, he's someone special. And then, you know what? They are. They're extremely special.
Logical though. I totally get that. I love it. By the way, we love tundras. We're always talking about the mirror. But so yeah, we're a fan of that. But I totally get what you're saying, is because so much, and we literally were just having a discussion about this in a department meeting we just had, about how confidence is so key to so many parts of a business. Your employees having confidence. And so I think that, yeah, I can totally see that as being a first step of just them driving something they feel confident in, driving something that makes them look legit, that looks professional, that's a good vehicle. Make a difference.
Yeah.
One of my guys and I were taking a drive yesterday, actually, on a Washington State ferry to get to an island that we had a job to do. And the guy on the ferry, who I know sees thousands of vehicles a day, told us, he says, "This is the nicest work truck I have ever seen in my life." So that's nice.
I'm looking at your website. I'm trying to find a picture. I want to see this truck. Do you have a picture of it on your website?
DAPrDAN on Google, my business. So DAPrDAN Camano, Camano.
Okay.
See one there. I should put more pictures. We have 3 of them now, and they're exactly the same. So, you know, the ladders are the same. We paint the ladders so they look great. You know, there's just a lot of pride these guys have. And you know what that does? Once I kind of estimate maybe around 5 to 7 trucks on the road, right? Another year, 2 years. There's not just going to be, hey, who do you work for? Oh, I work for DAPrDAN. There's going to be, hey, I want to work for Dan because I want to drive one of those trucks, right? Dan truck, because they're so cool, and customers love them. So anyway, don't get me wrong, it's not all about trucks, okay? But that's one way we chose to affirm the value that these people have that are now hugely partnered with me and my family, okay? The other thing we did, and if you go to DAPrDAN.com/careers, that's the page you were talking about. And, you know, right there you can see we put together a very generous benefits package. I mean, that's a package that I remember when I was talking with the 401k guy through our benefits system. He said not many companies actually match to that level, except maybe they're in software or, you know, but again, I have been in the position where I have not charged enough for the value that we offer. And now we finally are, thanks to some conversations that took place among people last year at ResponseCon, helped me realize the value of that. I came home, raised my prices, raised them again 2 months later. That is such a key component of being able to take care of your people. I can't even overestimate it. We spent a whole topic on that, but that is a key component. You got to pay your guys well, which means you have to charge, you know, high prices, right? What will be called high prices in the market. We also provide standard hourly, but also performance pay to our guys, because you need the security as an employee that you're putting your time in, you're going to get paid what you need. But as an employer, you need to give people a carrot as well, because if you don't, then they kind of fall into a rut. We all do, right? We need incentives. And then, as I mentioned, the decentralization of our corporate structure, really what it boils down for these guys is lifestyle, time with their family. Instead of driving back to what's important to me in my centralized location and trading back their personalized vehicle, they just get to drive it home. And in the morning, they get to drive straight to their job. So we're not wasting their life, right? So now, how can I do that? You might be asking, how can I do that? I'm an employer. I can't just let my trucks go, right? The way we did it effectively is I put myself in the cab with them everywhere they go. So how I did that is, because how can I be in 3 places at once, right? We use a system that puts trackers in the vehicle, so we know where they are. We know every maintenance code that ever pops up. We know how fast they're going. Every 30 seconds, it takes a little ping on them GPS, so I know how fast they're going. Every day, I get a report of all these things. Who's speeding? Has there been any broken glass? how much movement has gone around the vehicle. And then also I have a camera in that vehicle that takes a 24/7 visual out the front of the truck, but also in the cab, so I can see. And that's really important because with the click of a button, I can connect with those guys. If they're in an accident, it notifies me and I'm immediately connected. It also calls 911. So that's a great component of being able to let those trucks go on the road. So do we want to talk about the hiring process?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we haven't touched that. But I felt that was important to cover, really, because what we're going to do now is filter out just about everybody that would qualify if you were using a bad system, the system that I used to use, right? What are some of the way of doing things the old way? Here's what I did. Guys I knew, right? Guys that I knew at a time when I didn't know what I was doing with my life, right? I don't want guys like that coming to work for me now. But that's the guys I knew at that time. Of course, that improved along the way, but I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes we're looking. Guys who that know other guys like them. So that's just perpetuating the problem a little bit further out. Really, the basic problem with doing this the wrong way is you hire based on need. And that's a common problem in the service industry because you've got this tug of war between production and HR all the time. The more production you have, the more guys you're going to need on your staff. Now you've got a lot of guys on your staff, so you have to fill their time with more production. And so it's this constant employee entrepreneurial problem. So what happens is entrepreneurs panic, right? I see my production's going great, advertising is effective, booking all these jobs, I'm making promises to my customers, but I don't have enough guys to do it. Guys quit, right? Guys get hurt. Maybe guys just go find another opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a system where you can effectively just press a button literally, and an ad goes out to places you've already preset through a channel, and that creates a response in the market because guys who are intentional about looking for good opportunities are looking in the places you're going to post. You're not just going to post on some street corner on a light post, right? We're going to post in intentional places. So one of the things in preparing what you're going to be posting, because it's not the job description quite yet, you have to think about who is the person who is going to recognize and respond to the words I'm going to put out there. And my computer's down right now, but let me see if I can pull it up. If you go to the careers page on our website, you'll see some of the thought reflected in that page. So one of the most important words right up there when it loads is the word rescue. I truly believe that. We are looking for guys to come on our team who are going to rescue 3 million, in our case, 3,420,282 Northwest homeowners from negligent contractors and bad customer service. I
love that.
I really believe that in my core because I've been a customer. I am a customer of other services, and it just so happens that most businesses are looking out for their bottom line first, not realizing that you look out for your customer, the bottom line will take care of itself. It will. You can even lose money going 100 miles out of your way to serve a customer, and your bottom line will still multiply. You guys know that, right?
Yep.
You got plenty of stories yourselves about doing that. I follow you guys on Facebook, so I know. But this was not something I adopted until 2 years ago. So some of the guys that have worked for me over the last 20 years might see this recording and think that he's lying. He doesn't know what he's talking. He's not really doing. No, that was the old way I did things, right? You should reapply. I'm not sure if I'd hire you, but you should reapply, and then you'll see the process, right? This is a wake-up call to me that I had to follow. So you're gonna try.
Are you sorry, Greg, are you okay with me sharing that link? It's such a good website. But
Right ahead. That's fine.
all right.
So if you go down that page, actually, you see, we're looking for a needle in the haystack. Is that you? We're trying to build a little bit of, exclusivity. I debated whether or not I would put this next one in, but wimps and wusses need not apply. We are, what's the word? Being discriminating. Not a popular word today. But to be discriminatory actually in a positive way means that you are looking at two things and you're trying to decide, is this one better or is this one better? That's the word in general. What we are trying to do is get people to be discriminatory towards us. Is this a good place to work? Is this a not good place to work? Am I going to be wanting to work hard, or am I looking for something different that's not as hard physically? And so I try to tell people here, look, you're going to be working outside when in the Northwest, the way the earth shifts in the winter, it gets light at 8 o'clock in the morning and gets dark at 4. So what does that mean? It means you're going to leave for work in the morning or when it's dark, and you come back when it's dark for probably 4 months. Okay, you're going to work in the rain, you're going to work in the cold, you're going to work on high things, you're going to work with ladders, your hands are going to get cold. All of these things are really not very attractive. But I felt that, we need to get this out there so you can make the right decision. And guess what? The right people respond. So the next section here, I actually give some links, and these are excuses, right? This was taken directly from one of the sources that said, this is what you do, and this is almost word for word what they said. So I really have to give them credit, and that would be AGS. So what I did do that's a little different is I took it to the next level, and each one of these blue, excuses, like if you look like a tattoo parlor experiment gone wrong, you apply. That actually is a link back to another job search that'll display, other jobs they can apply for, not on our website. So, but if you are still interested, keep going. And that's when we start to sell them. So we introduce our core values. We take them through the benefits and the perks. We introduce them to, our office a little bit and the people in there. And then we give them links to the job descriptions themselves. This is the point where we get into the hiring process specifically. So let me give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, and I'll fill in each one just a little bit, okay? So first is going to be your ad. Then you're going to give the job description. Then you're going to give, third is the open positions, or career description, I'm sorry. That's your web page. So let me rephrase. So the first is the ad. The second is the web page where you have your career description. The third point is the open positions, or the link to that. Then you're going to give in point 4 the actual job description itself, and you'll have a job description for each open position that you're providing. Then you're going to do, for number 5, a test, okay? And then number 6, the actual job application, something for them to fill out. So let me show you how this fits together. Any questions so far?
Well, I'm curious what the test is.
So, in your ad, that's essentially you thought through who do you want this to connect with? What are some attributes about them? Another common term that this has been tossed around is your ideal employee avatar. So you make a few, go through a process and come up with, maybe 4 or 5 points that are solidly confirmed about the person that you want to hire, their character, maybe something about what they do in their spare time. You kind of have this crystal clear view of the ideal type of person you want to hire. That's when you're going to write your ad. You're going to write your ad to that specific person, ignoring everybody else. Okay? You don't want to hire anyone else, just that one type of person. Once that's written, then you create your web page, because the ad that you're going to put out there is going to connect back to your web page on your site, specifically written like ours is here to filter people out, almost scare them away, and then provide the carrot. Okay, this is, you know, why you want, if you really want to work outside, if you really want to have these problems in your life, but you want these benefits too, then continue on through the process. So you filtered, now you've got just the guys who haven't clicked off yet. They're going to see the open positions. They're going to pick one. Okay, those open positions will be, like in our case, we have a temporary position for a holiday lighting installer. We have another position which is an apprentice cleaning technician. Then we have, you know, a general cleaning technician, and lastly, a managerial position for all of those guys. So once you have the positions identified and named, then you're going to write the job description, and that includes you know, what the responsibilities are, what a day in the life of that position would look like. Just kind of flesh it out so that they can get an idea of whether or not it's a good fit for them. Can they envision themselves in it? And then the test. You were curious about the test. What the test does is it gives you back your life during this process, because anyone who's ever been in HR or created a system like this will tell you it is a job unto itself. It will take you, if you're, let's say, what AGS calls a stage 1 or a stage 2 business, you're going to be wrestling with other responsibilities to make your business work. You know, you're going to be doing sales calls, you're going to be doing the production, maybe you're going to be doing billing and invoicing and collecting payment, all that. So to add on the additional burdens of filtering hundreds of people, which a well-written ad will generate, is overbearing. It's certainly in a busy time of the year. So how do you do that? Well, one easy way to cut it down to literally 5% is to have a test. And so what that means, in your job description for each position, at the top of, and you want a pretty long one, okay? You want it to, like, they have to scroll 2 or 3 times, okay? So at the top you say, now wait, you know, don't just fill out the job application yet. Read this in its entirety, because at the bottom we're going to share something with you. Or maybe you don't say that, but you're going to say, you know, read the job description. It's very important that you do. Okay. So that if they don't do that, which so many guys do, they'll just say, yeah. Fill out the job application, which in the system we use is sitting right there on the same page as the description. So it's just saying, fill me out, fill me out. You don't need to waste your time. You got 30 others you're going to apply for. No. Here's what happens. If you have written your ad and if you have written the job description to appeal to your ideal avatar, when that guy comes in, he can't stop reading, right? Because everything is written to him. He's written a personal letter. And I have had one of our guys who is on staff today that I hired as a temporary guy, but I want to keep him and he wants to stay, and it's just this marriage, right? He literally said, I showed my parents this, right? And we just laughed and we're like, this is so you. And he's like, this is so me. I have to be here.
I love it.
You know, you cannot, like, that has to be a cooperative effort. I can't generate that alone in any person. It is when they connect together with the words, right? So
the test is, in essence, you know, using the marriage analogy, it's like almost like this dating app to see, are they interested enough in who I am, my company, to learn more about it, to keep reading. And you can tell that by just like having this test to see if they're actually reading through it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like it's hard. It's just, it's really a gauge in interest and compatibility.
So
with the.
Let me take a quick aside here. There's a story in a book or a magazine, it's like a trade journal for chicken farmers. And I never read it, but this is a story that was told to me by a guy who also never reads it, but it was referred to him. So this is third hand, but your story. So, 20 years, 30 years ago, I think it was, the FAA was testing the tensile strength of their windshields because they were running into these birds, right? And the birds would come in right through the windshield and kill the pilot, and they would down the plane. And so what the FAA decided to do is they created this cannon where they would literally take an appropriate sized foul and fire it at this test windshield. And if it broke through, they knew they had to make adjustments, but they would continue that process until the windshield didn't break. Well, some guys over in the government in the UK had heard about the success of this chicken cannon, because we were firing live, or not live, but dead chickens out of it, as their test subjects. The UK guy said, "Hey, we'd like to borrow your cannon." And so the US guy said, "Never." Well, they aimed it at this windshield they were testing for a high-speed train and shot the chicken out. The chicken goes through the windshield, straight through the captain's chair, and embeds itself in the back of the electrical wiring behind the captain's chair. I mean, that's horrifying. And so what do we do? So they call up the FAA and they say, "Here's what happened. What do we do?" And the FAA says, "Well, we have one suggestion for you. Thaw the chicken." So you get the point. One of our core values is read the instructions. Because in our business, we have systems that tell guys how to do our services the DAPrDAN way. If they don't read the instructions, they're going to do it somebody else's way, not our way. So the reality is, if you don't read the job description, you're not doing one of the primary core values of DAPrDAN from the very onslaught. And so these guys fill out the application. They're not looking for the secret phrase at the bottom. Our last question after they've spent 15 minutes filling out the job application is, "What's the secret phrase?" And I could read you through 150 of these made up secret phrases that guys are trying to guess at that are all wrong. But it's hilarious. Some say "I love you," some say, side phrase. But the only way you can know the secret phrase is at the bottom of the job description. It says, "Don't fill out the job description. Instead, call this phone number." And the phone number goes to a number I bought and put, my recording on it. Says, "Hey, good job. You're one of a few people who figured this out. The secret phrase is," and I say, "Get a pen and paper, write it down." And they write it down. And then I say, "Go to the job application, fill it out." And so now when they get to the bottom, there's a secret phrase. So what does that do?
Interesting.
On my end, when I see an email come in and says, "Hey, you have a new applicant for such and such," like I did today, right? Waiting for this webinar today. The first thing I do is scroll down to the last question that says, "What's the secret phrase?" If it doesn't say it, I go right to the freeform email where I send back to say, "Sorry, following instructions is one of the prime core values of this company, and you failed, right? But maybe consider reapplying, in next year or something like that." And I recognize that I might be throwing some really good candidates out, but I only want the best. And if you fail step one, you're not the best, right? You may think you're the best, but you don't have what it takes. You're not fitting our avatar. So that's really important. So continuing on with the hiring process, once they pass that, I've got maybe 5% of the pool left. Then we go on to what's called our applicant tracking system. And I'll just go through the steps here kind of slowly here so you guys can write them down. But the first thing we do is schedule a phone interview. There are certain questions I go through in that phone interview. I always go through the same questions. Sometimes it goes to the left and to the right, but we keep it to about 15 minutes. If that phone interview goes well, then what I'm going to do is send them a link. I'm going to tell them in the phone interview, I'm going to send them a link, and that link goes to a personal assessment. And so I create an account with a company, and it's not cheap, but it's so valuable because they allow us to not only do a personality assessment, but it also allows me to take certain core competencies of the position that they're applying for and create kind of a custom conglomerate of assessment for that role. For example, I have one for a technician, a field technician. I also have one for a salesperson. I've taken them all, by the way. I am not a good salesperson. I failed that assessment, but I'm a great technician. I'm a good manager, but not a good salesperson. But if you don't have that, how do you know whether or not the person you're hiring, whatever their personality may be great, if they're going to be competent to do the job? And so that then leads to the next step, which is the in-person or the Zoom interview, which we're going to be reviewing those assessment results, right? And then I've got a whole other list of questions too. They also ask me questions. Then we're going to do two things at the same time. If the in-person interview goes well and they want to keep going and I want to keep going, I'm going to send them a link, and it will start a 3-checkpoint process, okay? They're going to get a background check. It's a national background check. They're going to get a driver's check, because in our line of work, if you have a poor driving record, our insurance won't even cover me anymore as a company. We've had to face the decision of, do we keep this person on staff or do we change insurance companies? It's not good. And then thirdly, a drug test. You can't smoke even medical marijuana and work for DAPrDAN, and that's just maybe an unfortunate situation, but when we're on ladders, we're on roofs, it just doesn't make a good combination. And so we're gonna discover that. I will say at this point, I took probably about 30 people through this process in trying to hire the 4 that I did for our big business increase this year. And one of the guys that got through to this point, and then I had to jet him out, he was a recently convicted sex offender. Imagine knowing after the fact that you put that person in someone else's home. You know, I hope that people will be able to get over those kinds of challenges in their lives. And certainly we aren't condemning every person, but as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, who you have responsibility not only to protect and grow this for your family, but also the other people who've committed their time to work for you, you have to protect your company's reputation, right? And so this is a very important piece of it. While they're doing that, we're doing reference checks. And then lastly, if all goes well, we're going to have them out to a job site with a manager who will do a working interview and make sure, yes, they are comfortable on roofs, ladders, and so forth. At that point, the whole hiring process that we're here to talk about stops, and a new process starts, which is called the onboarding process. And that's when you've made the decision to bring them on, and now it's, you know, the party, and it's your time to deliver on the promises you've made.
All right. Wow, that was
Very thorough.
Very thorough. A lot of good
Impressive.
stuff. Gosh, I had a few questions throughout, and now I'm trying to remember what they were because I didn't want to stop you. Trying to remember. Do you have any off the top of your head?
I'm curious how long you've been doing this process for.
I created this in a bit of a hurry. I think it was in August in this last year that I sat down and really for over about 3 weekends just poured over the information, hammered out the work, researched the software that I was going to have to kind of piece together. You know, the distribution of the ad is one piece, you know, the applicant tracking is a whole other piece, the background checks is one piece, and the assessments, that's another piece, you know. So I looked at a lot of different companies, but one thing I've been pretty good at has been when I have a choice to make on a particular technology, choosing the one that will go the distance over time. I haven't picked too many losers in that way. And so that allows me to have confidence in my decisions now when I'm going to choose a company like Jill's office to handle a piece of my business. I am confident that you will do it, and you have, right? So who is going to be doing my assessments for me reliably for years to come, so I don't have to revisit that? And
Right.
maybe it affects another important part because I yank that out and the roots come, drag another piece out. We got to try and build it right the first time. So to answer your question, Nicole, that took me 5 weeks maybe, but I work on it really bright red hot, you know, and but that's just who I am. So
Yeah, awesome.
At what stage do you talk? Because I know you mentioned, I mean, one of the perks for working with you, which is partly why you can be so picky, is just that you do, you know, pay a really good competitive wage. Do you showcase that right at the beginning with the advertisement, or is that later on? I guess
yeah, great question. So the hourly pay I do put out there, yes, and then I list some of the benefits that come after that, or you know, where the stages of maturity in the relationship with our company, where some things will kick in. We don't get too specific in terms of like at 6 weeks you'll get this, at 10 weeks you'll get. It's just you will qualify for advances or you know, raises and things like that. So we just kind of plant the seed. Those are things that usually you talk about, you know, during the process. And I should mention too, I wrote this right at the top, because how long does this process take, right?
Yeah,
that's
that too.
Yeah, that's, I mean, from the starting point of when someone submits their application and they got the secret phrase right, to giving them an offer letter, right? Our company averaged 3 weeks. It's
Okay.
For our industry. Remember, what I was doing before was, oh crud, I got 7 jobs with no one to do next week. What am I going to do, right? Hey, John, best friend.
Yeah. How do you plan how many you're going to hire? You said you just went through a kind of a hiring just now?
Yeah, so we at DAPrDAN, we do probably, it's pretty common, you know, collection services for people in our industry, but maybe some things are different. So we do, you know, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, power washing, and some auxiliary services on the side that are related to that, siding cleaning, house washing, okay? But we also install and remove what I call seasonal Christmas lights. So those are your traditional, you know, bulbs. We do custom cut. We store the product for our customers. So the ideal customer there is someone who just, I want Christmas, but I don't want to have to lift a finger for it. We take care of that person perfectly. And we have people who have renewed for 6, 7, 8 years, you know, are paying for that privilege of never having to touch it, but having the best looking displays. We added a permanent lighting option that has a 3-year guarantee. It's an incredible product, and you can see it on our website. If you click at the top, it's called Trim Light. We put some videos on there and talk about the product there and the differences between the seasonal and the permanent lighting. The reason why I talk about that is because in all service businesses, there is some seasonal, you know, waxing and waning that goes on. And for us in the Northwest, it is drastic, right? We have 2 major things. One, well, I guess 2 still, but with lighting, we have to do a pretty moderate hiring process in, you know, spring cleaning time. I'd say, you know, end of March through June. People have typically gone on vacation. I don't know if they're doing that again this year or not. School usually starts. I don't know if that's happening again in 21 or not, but we know that it typically is just dropped off in August and September. And then people kind of get the right mind about their life again in October. So October brings with it, in the Northwest, roof treatments, gutter cleaning, because all the deciduous leaves drop, and then Christmas lighting. And that would always knock us flat on our backs, because now what was a big season in May is now 3 times the size. And so we would open the gate and pollute our current culture with guys who had no interest in being a part of a culture. They just wanted to grab as much money as they could, for a month or two. And that's what I didn't realize was killing my business every year. It's killing it. And so when I did this, we brought on people, 4 guys in a period of about 6 weeks that love it here, are long-term invested, and I love them, and I'm long-term invested in their future. They're driving, like I said, the trucks that I described earlier. I don't just turn something like that over to just anybody.
Right.
And they know that. So it is a pretty powerful culture here. It's unlike anything I've seen. I've seen companies with nice trucks, but I haven't seen the combination of things that we have here, and what it's doing, I have yet to see. If this will last, it's lasted 6 months, 7 months. Will it last 3 years? Will it last 10? I still have yet to see, but it's going.
Well, we're excited to watch, and we'll have to get you back on to get an update at some point.
Sure.
Okay, this is a side note question. So how often do you wear the hat?
I almost sleep in it.
I was wondering.
So DAPrDAN is like, I've become DAPrDAN. Like people say, so are you DAPrDAN? I say I'm one of them, but the reality is it's fused. I can't separate it from me anymore. So
I love it.
Wear the hats too.
What's that?
Do your employees wear hats?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on your website, I mean, the pictures are phenomenal. The whole film
Our
that you
I don't
created.
think you knew this, but like our company, we have a wardrobe change 2 times a year. Everybody.
Oh.
So from April 1st through September 30th, all the guys are wearing gray Newsboys caps, white collared shirts, pinstripe overalls, okay? And a red bandana always on the side. But then October 1st through March 31st, we wear black newsboy caps, red plaid shirts, black overalls with the red.
Huh.
And the reason for that is because we do all the wet, nasty, dirty services, and it's also Christmas time, so we kind of use a darker color to hide all the dirt that we're in. But then DAPrDAN really is that pinstripe with the white shirt, running to serve you. So
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and it is who you are. I mean, gosh, I think it was a year ago, just about exactly. I'm sad we're not going this year. That we saw Greg at a conference, and my coworkers that were there, we all agreed that one of the highlights was talking with you there, meeting your wife, who's also phenomenal. I mean, and again, that's just something that I've always respected and love about you, Greg, and it leaks into your business and obviously to your employees too, is that who you are. That's who you're trying to attract, because that's who your business is, and it's what I'm sure makes your business so successful and have all these 5-star reviews, loyal customers, is because you just encompass those values, and it speaks in your business, and just talk.
Just briefly, because that is, take everything that we said today, and starting in the beginning, I kind of laid foundation. There is a foundation underneath all of what I've said today, and that foundation is this. If you can't look, figuratively and literally, look in a mirror into your own eyes and say, you are doing your best to be a good employer, your best to be a good husband, your best to be a good man or woman, if you also don't know, you also have work to do to improve, and you're not honest with yourself, you're not ready to grow a business. You're just not ready. There's work we always have to do in improving our own character. And there was a point at which, and I'm not there, but I am saying 2 years ago, something shifted in me, and I realized I was empty in ways I thought I was full. And I had to kind of just let that become exposed so the work could be done on me in my heart. once I did that, I think that was when I became a lot of things, one of which was someone that was worthy to work for, could create a real opportunity, not just a shadow or an empty structure. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention, totally not on topic of that, but one of the real value points that we added this year is Natalie, my wife, and I talked, and she said, you know what, I think, you send all these newsletters out. I want to send a newsletter in. And so she started a newsletter amongst all of our employees, just like they were our internal customers, right? And so
Love it.
got this outline, which is great, of, what has been, the reports on that, what's coming, so you can prepare. We do an employee of the month. We do some cool things, and one of the things that we do is our favorite wrong answer to what is the secret phrase.
I love
The
it.
guys getting the newsletters, they answered it correctly, right? So.
That's awesome. How fun. Well, that's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
Again, we really appreciate you coming on today. I'm sure we'll probably want to get you back. You've got so much more to share, but really appreciate what you shared today, Greg.
Thank you, guys. It's good to see you, Nicole. I don't talk to you as much.
Yeah, it's been
You guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate everything you do. I can't tell you. Maybe you should just have me on for like a half an hour to sing your praises, because what you're doing means I got a relationship with the other people on the other side of that wall, my family. So thank you.
Well, we're honored to be part of your team. So thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
All right.
See ya.